Boy, what you know about dancing? Just 'cause you got a little college beyond your belt don't mean you the best stepper on the floor. Why, if she were still living, your grandma could have told you about me. But I don't know if she would have. In my time, they called me Red. I was mercurial, hot as blue fire. I could reel on swamp mud at 200 miles an hour and stop straight up on a Canadian dime. I used to spin my body so fast that I would have drilled a hole clean through that floor you high-stepping on, and the sparks flying from my taps would have scared away all the critters from under the house. You don't believe me, do you? Well, listen up. Back in New Orleans, in folks supped jazz music for lunch and imbibed it for dinner to wash down gumbo so spicy hot it would make you sweat. So usually, when the last set ended at the High 7 Club, the hip cats, after gumbo, jazz, and wine, strutted through the door mopping their faces with oversized handkerchiefs. The ladies, of course, had powdered up and cooled off long before the music stopped. One Saturday night, me and Raynell Dizzy Williams exited the High 7 and made our way toward an after-hours jam I had been invited to by a sweet Cuba sugar named Sarah G, who earlier in the evening had tried her best to keep up with me on the dance floor. We finally made it to the joint, a ritzy, multi-storied tenement that looked like a private museum. As soon as I knocked on the door, the brass peephole squeaked open. I felt eyes and air pouring through on me. Red here, Sarah G plugged me. The door opened and Big Charlie Downs, dock worker by day and bouncer by night, towered over me with the grin. My man Red, the jazzy high stepper, the one and only. I removed my cocked Panama from my slick down hair, and this here is my running ace, Dizzy. Y'all come on through. Solid. I flipped Charlie 2 bits, and me and Dizzy eased down the hallway toward the sound of the groove. Before we could figure which way to go, a smiling petite waitress wearing a tight skirt above her knees had come up and handed me a glass of watered-down whiskey on the rocks. Hi, Mr. High Stepper. How do you, doll? Red's my name. Everybody knows that. As Dizzy lifted a drink for himself from the tray and replaced it with a coin, I looked around at the hip people in the room we had landed in, gestured a toast, downed my shot of whiskey in a single swallow, then looked over at the waitress for a refill. Only the squares didn't get juice. Red was no square, so I got down, real down, high as Ben Franklin's kite. A few more shots of whiskey layered on early evening wine had me feeling good as a pig in slop. There I was, dripping off the funny lights in a large, multi-dimensional room peppered with in-folk. The players huddled in corners, floating in their baggy pleated pants and flashing their gold watch chains. A few cats leaned so far forward, if their ladies hadn't propped them up, they'd have fallen flat on their mugs. Dizzy got caught up in a lively corner discussion with a few musician acquaintances who couldn't resist trying to unravel Charlie Parker's solos. So I got my swollen, woozy head out of that scene and hitched a ride here and there on some of those ad hoc confab cliques continually forming and dismantling in other corners and other rooms on upper floors and on the roof. A cool breeze swirled around on the roof, but hot music and jam-tight congestion warmed all bodies. Big bodies, little bodies, wide and short bodies, tall bodies, curvaceous bodies, blob bodies, liquid and some dry bodies, lean and foaming bodies, scented bodies, working bodies, some bodies and no bodies. I bet you didn't know there was that many different kind of bodies. Then there was one lovely body I'll never forget. I can see her this very moment, the way I saw her that night way back yonder. Stuffed like Louisiana hot sauces, seasoned with sage and other mouth-watering spices. I can see her just as clearly as I can see you flip and slide and jerk across them varnished wooden slats on your mama's living room floor. Early that Sunday morning, the ladies circled deliciously about a barrel of fire center roof to the beat of a seductive number blaring out of the arc-headed jukebox. Hundreds of skinny braids flung about her aerodynamic noggin like an iridescent tenor ball seen through hallucinating eyes. Liquid magic flew from each twirling braid. The crowd barked with pleasure, clapped, and egged her on. I said to myself, what is this wholesome, beautiful goddess doing shaking her lithe physique that way? I couldn't believe such a tall, wide, curvaceous body could be so foaming, working, and liquid. She had to be into yoga, aerobics, voodoo, or something. This thing she was working on churned my machismo. What she was doing was Red's kind of thing. Congo Square ain't gone nowhere. Gingerly, I pranced out to center roof and emphatically introduced myself. Red here, baby. What you say? She looked me straight in the eye and smiled. You is red, ain't you? But are you hot? Didn't I say my name was Red? Yeah, but are you ready? Anytime, anyway. I was born stepping and ain't nothing slowed me down yet. I slung my jacket across the room, undid the top buttons on my red silk shirt, and bared my heaving chest. Then I snapped my fingers and beat with the polyrhythmic sounds that lit up the roof and the blackened sky. She faced my way and snapped her fingers too. Well, honey, get down and hit it. 'Cause if you can't hit it, you can't get it. Suddenly, I whirled my body around slowly. I had one hand all the way down, fingers snapping, and I had the other hand all the way up, fingers snapping. I moved about her smoldering, gyrating mass to map out the territory, all the while smiling and peering into her large, airy, dark eyes, mindful that the popping crowd was gearing up for showtime. Those who knew my reputation chanted my name. Red, they said. But to my surprise, some high cascading voices in the crowd echoed Brickhouse's name cacophonously. Ruby, 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 honey, get down. Then I heard Sarah G's voice. Ruby, show that stud a thing or two, but not too much, 'cause he learned real fast. Ruby, the name caught my ear. They say she had been all over twisting that wonderfully supple body. In Harlem at the Savoy, in Los Angeles at Club Alabama. Now I was looking at her with my very own eyes, uptown and down, live and in person, done tasted the salt of the Atlantic and the Pacific. Ruby, come to conquer Orleans. But Orleans was my town, me, Red, who hung out with the high-stepping copers and blew all the young girls' minds with my flying feet and mercurial hips. So I told her again, Red's my name, baby. Yeah, from coast to coast, every day. All the while, I still snapped my fingers low and high while circling my prey. She moved toward me as if she were gliding through air, and then she caught me off guard with her magical smile, banged my poor little mesmerized body hard with her thick hips, and whispered within a hot breath of my lips, Olé! she said, "Ole." Just look at your grandpa. Don't look like it, but I used to be the baddest ace of spades ever lit on that Creole plantation. Me red. Could spin so fast on my tips that if I didn't stop, next thing you hear, siren come to put out the fire. I was good. When I got good and hot, they called me red. At my peak, I scorched, turned ice blue. Then they called me cool red. And God gave Noah the rainbow sign. No more water, red next time. You don't believe me, do you? Well, anyway, son, the truth is that dancing and rhythm are glued together with life, like red beans and rice. And during the hardest of times, which I've had my share of in this life of mine, rhythm can dress up the worst kind of noise. Long before you ever think about getting as old as me, you're going to find out that you can no longer hang your cool on the golden hanger. You may even lose a step or two. Take the day your mother came into this world. I can see her now, her soft little body curled up in your grandma's arms. That was the day I gave up tripping and juicing altogether and settled down like regular folks. But the rhythm that started in me is still in me. It's all up in my head and ain't gonna never go away. It defines and creates the harmony in my soul. It's a gift, an inheritance that moves along from generation to generation. I can hear it in your music and see it in your dance. And no matter how many college degrees you end up getting, that rhythm will always be with you. Just to think, it all started in the wee hours of a warm Sunday morning, when a pretty lump of sugar banged my hips and had me stumbling around a barrel of fire. I'll tell you the truth. Your Grandma Ruby wore me out on that roof, but she fixed my soul for keeps. Sweetness, goodness, may she forever rest in peace.